Just separate words.
I'm showing off my amazing graphics.
Oh, okay.
I need to work on my amazing graphics.
Maybe slightly.
Okay. Watch your manual. And hello to everyone else. Welcome to Cathy and Dave's Hobby Hangout, as the nice sign said. Where today we'll be hobbying, hanging out, and talking about board games, as well as books. Standard fare, really. Try and be a little less rambly than we were.
We'll see how we go.
Yeah. And I just realised my phone was still volume up, and that was going to confuse me. Because there is a slight delay to things. Okay. How are you?
I'm alright. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Our son is now doing an extra day at nursery, which is quite good because I'm still working from home for most of the rest of the month. So when he's not in the house, it's kind of easier to feel like you can get things done. How are you?
How am I? I've been in the library for a day.
We've done a few days.
I've done 2 days, yes, actually. And I'm back in the library again tomorrow. Which is strange but good. It's nice to be seeing some of our customers we obviously have not seen in a while. Catching up with my colleagues and actually giving books to people, which is kind of my job. I mean, not that I haven't enjoyed doing what I've been doing, but let's be honest, if I'm not giving someone a book, then it's a lot of my job, not. Yeah. And I'm not going to be able to do sessions with storytelling anytime soon, so I might as well just be giving people books. But they've been very happy to have their books, so that's the main thing.
That's good.
So I will be continuing to do that tomorrow. And then hopefully I'm planning on getting my other library up and running.
Oh, good.
So here we go. Libraries. Yay! So what have you been reading? What's your...
Oh, we didn't have that. Okay.
Oh, what do you want to talk about? Oh, yes, we go.
Yes, the hobby.
Yes,
so
okay.
I am, in the continuation from last week, I'm working on this, it's called a tapestry brick thing for a local history project, which is based around a very old church, Norman church arch that's not too far away. And yeah, so I've sort of started doing this. Well, so last time I was just doing the moon, now I'm doing the sky around the moon. I'm going to do some sort of leafy thing here, and I started it but couldn't quite figure it out, so it's just kind of a green blob at this point. So we're about later. I'm just doing the sky now because I figured out sort of some neat stitching for the moon and some sort of longer stitching for the sky. So yeah, I'll keep going with this. It's, I don't normally do yarn crafts. I usually do more like general sewing. Not particularly au fait with knitting or crochet. Although probably they're good skills to learn at some point, but yeah. But actually, this has been quite good because you've just got all these squares and it's quite simple. And if you do a stitch wrong, it's quite easy to just go back on it. So
yeah, well, the ability to undo.
Well, you don't. Yeah, you don't even have to. It's not like unpicking. So I mean, which you can sometimes get away with a bit, but this is even more simple than that. So
I think in general, if you've got, in order to build confidence in anything, the ability to know you're not. If you make a mistake, you can undo it. Is worth.
Well, which you can do with regular sewing as well. It's just it's usually a bit more like cutting and unpicking. So
Kate says she can teach you to knit.
Well, we'll see how we go, I guess.
I will be continuing with my Real Grey Sazabi. Last time I managed to complete the right leg. Today I will be starting on the left leg.
How many weeks is that now?
This will be 3. 3. These things take a while.
Sure.
It's a big chunky boy. He's very nice model. Very good model. Very articulated. He doesn't talk.
It's only legs. Are they articulate legs?
I mean, that says a lot to me.
Okay, sure. Right, on to books, I think.
Yeah. quick, before he says anything more stupid. What have you been reading?
Okay, so the thing I was reading over the recent bank holiday was actually on my Kindle, and that was a book called Brothers in Arms by Lois, McMaster, Bujold, and it is one of the Volkozigan saga books, which I started reading, I think, a couple of years ago now. People had talked about it quite a lot, and I've heard quite a bit about it, so I started gradually reading them. Sometimes I get copies from the library, which obviously isn't an option right now, and I've got some on my Kindle, because they're something a bit older, but I really enjoy that series. It's sort of like space opera, military SF, but like with stuff I like about it. Well, you know, there's just a lot of stuff about like so the main characters for the series. Most series has a lot of physical disabilities, and he uses a lot of cunning, and you know comes up with like harebrained schemes that seem to work. And he's very good at bluffing, so there's a lot of like being smart and outwitting people, but also sometimes thinking he's too smart or not kind of figuring things out. So there's usually a little bit of like mystery to it. There's a fair bit of emotion to it as well, which sometimes is better than others, but unlike the previous one, this one had less sort of like pretty ladies who felt were unobtainable, so that was good. Earlier books in the sequence, I say earlier, there's internal chronology order and publication order that are very different, but there are also earlier books about his parents, which are better because his mother, Cordelia, is just like an amazing character. So I'm kind of waiting for her to show up in more books I read later, so that's fun. But what I've started reading most recently is The Fated Sky by Mary Robinette Kowal, which is the second novel in the Lady Astronaut series. So I've only just started that one. So what I'll talk about is The Calculating Stars, which is the first novel in the Lady Astronaut series, which is really, really good. So basically, she did a short story that was nominated for a Hugo in 2000 and... was it 15 we went to Longcon? 14? 14. 14. Because I remember reading that the one time I had the Hugo packet. Which was it was a part of a short story thing, but it's basically about can Dorothy get on Mars? But in this, she's changed a couple of things about the sort of like timeline of the 20th century. But most of it, I think, one president is different person won the election in the late 40s or the early 50s. Basically, in this, it's very well researched alternate history about space travel, and basically what happens is a meteorite hits the east coast of the US in 1952, and then the main character Elma is not. If she'd been in her normal home with her husband Nathaniel, then they wouldn't have survived, but they were up in a sort of like getaway in like I want to say the mountains or somewhere. But Elma is really, really good at mathematics and also is a pilot, so she's able to fly them to safety. And yeah, it's basically about them. They're already involved in like aeronautics, but they get involved in kind of like the sort of at that point burgeoning space program, and then they realise that actually space is kind of the main option for the future of humanity, probably. So yeah, it's all about her kind of like being in the space program, providing the mathematics, being a computer, which was obviously the name for the people, mostly women, who did all the calculations for things like aeronautics and space program stuff in the early days. It's also about her trying to get recognition as a pilot and sort of pushing for women to be involved in spaceflight, and also her pushing for the general public to be interested in space and the idea that if humans are to colonize, other planets, you need to take women. So it's sort of about like, sort of like this woman's struggle about her situation and stuff to do with her private life, her religion, her mental health. It's kind of all about like her life in this, as well as the kind of broad stuff. So there's like a lot of press clippings in it, but it's very well researched. I know that the author, I think, spoke to tons of NASA people. I think she only changed like one or two things to make it work, like something about rocket fuel or something, to kind of make it work. But everything else is kind of based on technology they had at the time, just like if you pushed it, like if people were really behind this. So the early space program actually becomes a very international effort. There isn't kind of that kind of, there isn't a space race between the US and Russia. What there is like, we need to get humanity into space. So how should we do that? And then there's a lot more, it's a lot more of an international kind of thing. I said the stuff about, obviously, can women be involved in the space program and flying and how much? And there's also, various people, different nationalities, different ethnicities and stuff in there as well. So it's just a really good read, and Elma's a very engaging character. And one thing that Kowal always does in her books, or usually does in her books, is shows like married couples or like long established relationships that are happy and not full of drama but are still compelling. So that's a big thing of hers. But yeah, no, they're very good books. So the first one's very good, and I've only read a chapter of the second one, but that's good so far, and I'm pretty trusting it'll continue to be good. So what have you read?
I'm going to move the knife out of the way. Mal is gluing together more Neophant hybrids for his gene stealers.
Okay.
He's going to be doing that for a while.
Sure. Well, you've been doing this for a while.
Yeah, this is just one model. He needs a lot of hybrids. Excuse me, saying.
Sure.
Last book I finished was Kameron Hurley, The Stars of Legion. I realised we're going to have to work on this camera flipping thing. Although most of it will confuse people because we're going to swap around. So yes, Kameron Hurley, Stars of Legion. It was all right. Very organic space sci-fi. Yeah, it wasn't so much my thing. I wouldn't say I hated it. But it really wasn't so much my thing. It got a bit... It's very biological. Yeah. I'm not selling this, but on the other hand, I think it would be a difficult one to sell.
I mean, she obviously managed to...
Yeah, well, I think it's a difficult one to suggest to people because... obviously, science fiction can be a bit of a barrier to people. So yes, this was interesting. If you think you might like biological sci-fi with a bit of a mystery, go and check it out for yourself, but it really wasn't my thing. Instead, I'll be a bit more positive about Kameron Hurley and talk about The Light Brigade, which is the other book of hers I've read. Which I did enjoy. So this is about, again, this is sci-fi. They're described as a science fiction thriller in a futuristic war. Dun dun dun. So in this war, in order to get their people into where they need to fight, so they're fighting on multiple planets. What was the plot? Of the Stars of Legion.
That's true, you didn't really
tell us. Okay, basically, a woman wakes up with no memory on board a organic world, and it's very organic.
What do you mean by organic? Like there are no pesticides used, or what? You keep using that word.
It's all very fleshy.
Okay, there you go.
It's very fleshy. So the walls are made of flesh. The floor is made of flesh.
There you go, that makes it a bit more clear.
It's very fleshy.
Is it like that Alan Campbell book we read? So it's kind of like a weird underworldy type
a bit
thing.
More
okay.
fleshy than that.
Oh goodness, that was quite fleshy. Okay, cool.
Yeah, this was very fleshy. So these worlds, these sort of very, very fleshy worlds,
I've actually gone back to saying organic fleshy sounds so gross now.
Yeah. She's there, and she's been told that the world she's on, the world that she lives on, is dying, and the only way that they can save it is for her to get to lead a force onto this other world that's nearby. But she's done this multiple times, and she's not yet succeeded. And then there's other of these worlds out there. That are basically trying to attack, stop them getting onto this world. So that's a, you know, and she goes and tries to take it again. There's a bit of backstabbing and politicking between the leaders of the world she's on. I mean, it's interesting insofar as it's an entirely, there's no men in this at all. It's all women. You might start to wonder how they managed to keep going. That gets covered in this. It's very odd. So yeah, it does get a bit, I'm not going to say body horror-y, but yeah, it's, as I say, very fleshy.
Oh, okay, yeah, I suppose it's not so much my kind.
Very, very fleshy.
Well, I mean, some people like that sort of thing.
So, you see, yeah, I mean, I it's difficult to say too much more about it without giving too much of the plot away. Because there is a mystery involved, because she doesn't have memories, so it's a lot of it is her figuring stuff out, trying to work out whether she can trust the people that say that they're her friend, her family, what the actual reason, you know, why they want this world at all, what they're doing. So yeah, and yeah, lots of gooiness.
Okay, sure. Talk about the other one if you're happy about that.
Yeah, as I said, it's interesting.
Is it one of these things which is a very good idea, but like it's not the execution isn't your sort of thing?
Yeah, I mean it's well written. The characters are good. You know the rest of it is it's yeah. I mean I you know, thanks Shaz for pointing that out. I think I was underselling it because it's not badly written. It's, you know, it's got a plot. You know, I read it all because I wanted to know what happened. It's just
so it was compelling.
Yes, it was just that there was parts in it that just wasn't for me. But yes, this was more my cup of tea as far as sci-fi goes. You know, a bit more less fleshy, a lot less fleshy. So there's these troops are sent to their war zones on other planets by separating them, kind of like beaming them, but not quite literally, separating them into light and throwing them at the planet.
How would that be different to beaming? Is this like a very physicsy?
Yeah, just yeah.
Okay, sure.
Yes, they get broken into light and travel from interplanetary battle planets.
Oh, so there isn't spaceships in that either?
No.
I wasn't sure if the other one was like, you're like, where are the spaceships?
So yeah, no spaceships. No, is there? No spaceships. So yes, it's you're following a new recruit into the Corps who initially hits has a drop, and suddenly they start experiencing reality differently to all their people, the rest of the people in the platoon, and starts kind of jumping around in time, and yeah, it's basically trying to work out whether it's what they're experiencing, whether it's happening to them, or whether they've actually just gone crazy. So yes, it's a bit more of got some fights and some yes, a lot less fleshy. I keep saying that word to annoy Manon.
Oh, okay.
But yes, again, a bit of a thriller. Again, you don't quite know what's going on, but it comes together well. It's a compelling read. So yeah, I mean, if you like sci-fi and want to try something of Cameron Hurley's, I would personally suggest The Light Brigade over.
I've read her fantasy novel Mirror Empire, which I think is the first of a trilogy, and that was interesting. Had like a very different society. We've kind of got like two sides for war and just different ways people have different societies and ways of approaching stuff, and also like kind of moving plants thing. But yes,
yeah, no, I think you're an excellent author. Just sometimes
stuff doesn't gel.
Sometimes it doesn't, and that is perfectly fine. Sometimes I have to remind my colleagues that not everyone's going to like something you suggest to them.
Yes, that's an important thing to remember. The point is you need to reference something the other person will like if you're doing it for a job.
True, but also that's difficult as well, so...
This is true, some people are very vague. Or weirdly too specific.
Yes, we've had both of those in our order and collect system. Very, very specific, which, yeah, and then too vague. Buddhism. I mean,
that's in the religion section.
It was in religion section, but do you want books about it, books involving it, books? Yeah.
Sure. Yes. So, shall we talk about?
We're gonna go on to our topic. Yes, we're talking about board games. More accurately, just going to show you some of the board games we enjoy out of our collection.
Stuff on them.
Yeah, well, I was trying not to, and then you made me talk about books. So. So yes, these are ones we enjoy. We're not going to, hopefully, do a Marvel MCU on these and go through them. Right, do you want to start or shall I?
I don't mind. You can start.
Okay. I'll start with the. So. Terraforming Mars. A game by, let's do a Stronghold game written by Jacob Fluxx.
Oh, am I supposed to know this information about these?
It's on the front of this one. Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't
usually
read the front of games like books, but fine, okay. It makes sense to credit people. Credit the the creators. Yes, absolutely. Yes.
This one kind of does what it, you play what it says on the tin. You are a group of corporations terraforming Mars. It sounds may sound dull, but so you have this wonderful map of well,
look, it's Mars.
It's Mars. So you've got a wonderful board of Mars, and you so through it you're playing cards to build things on Mars. So you can build lakes, cities, and forests. In order to, what you're doing is there's 3 gauges that are tracks to the end game. You've got to have 9 Cs on Mars. The temperature has to be at... Is that the temperature one? No, that's the oxygen. The oxygen has to be at 14%, and the temperature has to be at +8 degrees.
It's weird in some ways when you play, because you're actually at points purposely trying to create a greenhouse effect, because of course the whole point is you want the planet to warm. And it's like, let's pump a load of carbon into stuff, and you're like, but why?
Or even better, let's crash an asteroid into it.
No, it wasn't an asteroid, Dave.
Oh no, so it's Deimos, wasn't it?
I was going to say, it's like in The Expanse.
Yeah, it's Deimos.
I got that card in the first round of playing, and I'm like, well, I'm hanging on to this card and playing this at some point, because you get to crash a moon into a planet.
So you play it by, there are cards, you get a hand of cards, which allow you to do various things. Put cities down.
You also do scientific things, don't you?
Yeah, you do science. You do. You can also build kind of engines, which are about how So one of them is like a microbe engine, where we have certain cards, which means you put microbes on different cards, which then generate heat or water, and then that helps you get victory points. So yeah, it's a good game. It's got a lot of depth. We need to play it more because I really do enjoy it. You track a load of resources. So these are all things you can generate to get more stuff. It's really quite a nice, well thought out game. Quite crunchy. It's definitely one that there are good strategies to winning, and then there's not good strategies to winning. But I think it's you didn't find it too difficult.
No, I think I found it fun. I thought I did quite well when we played before.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of depth to it, but it is just good, and there are, as I say, lots of things, and I may have backed. I did back campaigns from the company for some nice 3D tiles, and a big box to go in with everything to go in, and all the expansions, because it's really good. I really like it. So the expansions add in colonising Venus. There's a prelude one which kind of changes the start of the game a bit. There is one where I think more disasters happen. It's called Turmoil. I think it, So lots and lots of depth to it. So yes, it's a turn-based. I'm going to get questions, which is good.
Okay, maybe the questions out rather than just answering them. No one knows what the question was.
Yes. So Show's asking, what are the mechanics? Is it turn-based? Yes, it's turn-based. Everyone has a turn, which is good, because
a game where somebody didn't have a turn would be a bit rubbish.
That would be quite mean. Yeah, that would be quite mean.
I feel like there's a card game where that did happen once. I can't remember what it was. But
No,
I feel like maybe Greg or Tim were involved.
Yeah. So you win. It's a victory point system. So you gain victory points for meeting milestones on. So either there are awards for doing certain things, like having the most mega credits, or building a certain number of cities. You get victory points for cities.
Yeah, because you are still corporations. There's one element of you wanting to make money.
In some respects as well, though, you can actually win this by not actually putting anything on Mars. Okay. Because you're a corporation, the things you're doing with your cards will also get you victory points, because some of the cards are worth victory points. A lot of them are worth victory points for extra resources you have on them. So you can build a kind of corporate entity where you're researching microbes and wildlife and things like that, and gaining victory points, while actually not necessarily doing anything to directly influence Mars's terraforming.
Like the surface.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I suppose it's more fun to put things on the board.
It is far more fun to put, so...
And also crash and move it. I think because that card came up earlier, it's like, well, I need to figure out how I'm going to use this thing at some point. Because there's various things you can do at certain points, so you have to have a certain amount of oxygen before you can start, like, having animals. And you have to have a certain amount of, like, water before you can do things that require water.
Fish.
Stuff like that. Fish, yes, fish.
Yeah.
Other things. Yeah. But yeah, no, I considering obviously days that it's quite depth-based and there's a lot of strategy to it, I'm not so much a strategic thinker, but I still found it alright. You can also do like mining, so you're mining materials and the stuff to do with nature and stuff to do with power and stuff like that, and then you can generate a certain amount of power in your turn, which then gets kind of burnt to. Yeah,
so you generally the turns are kind of, you've got a research phase where you get some more cards and you can decide which of those cards you want to keep, which means you have to spend resources to keep them, and then resources to pay to get them into play, and then when you take actions, you can either play cards from your hand or do a couple of standard projects there are that you can do to like build cities or influence how much resources you're generating, and then everyone gets a choice to keep going round and round and round until you don't want to. You finish that turn, or finish that what they call generation. You then either go produce all your mega credits and energy and space resources, and then you start around again and keep going until, I say, you've hit the milestone. So oxygen is at 14%. You've got +8 degrees, and all 9 water tiles are on the board, and then you count up how many victory points. But some of it is, I say, if you've got one of the like engines running where you're generating victory points through how many resources you've got on cards, you might not know who's won until you count up at the end. So there's a bit of uncertainty on that. So yeah, it's quite a crunchy game, but I enjoy it. I've bought a lot of expansions for it, but it's also got a solo mode, which is quite good if you don't have friends, or you can't see friends at the moment because you're stuck in your house.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Okay. That's also good because sometimes we have games that even with 2 players aren't so good, and you're like, we need a third person for this. And
yeah,
the baby is too small.
I suppose we should also say yes. So this is a game for 1 to 5 people. 12 plus, and 80 to 120 minutes. It's likely to go longer the first time you play, as with most of these games do. But
I don't think I've been reading the boxes properly. Okay, so I'm going to go for a very, very different kind of game, which is Dixit. There we go. So it's not blaring. Which is, I think, French. Although it won that German prize in 2010.
I'm just sorry, because comments come in, because we're slightly delayed from where you see comments will come. I'll answer questions about Chaz's question in a moment.
Okay, you can do it now.
Can you play co-op? No, it's a adversarial.
Yeah.
Adversarial game.
But there's a co-op coming up.
Yes, we do have co-op ones here.
Yeah.
But yes, it's every corporation for himself. Why as a corporation would you want to help anyone else?
True. Yes. Yeah. Well, I suppose you're all trying to terraform Mars, but you're also trying to set the destiny of Mars.
It's a group goal. So everyone is working towards the end game together, but you're all it's your own points in the end. So yes, while you want Mars to be terraformed, you want it to be terraformed on your terms.
Yeah. Right. Yes. So Dixit, which is Jean-Louis Ribera and Mary Cardoe. My French is very poor. I didn't know I was going to have to read the front of it other than the name of the game. Dixit is, it's this... It's not really a board game, it's more of a card game, but it's kind of like the opposite of a strategy game. It's just, it's... Basically, you have all these cards with lots of really abstract, weird illustrations on. And then people have to pick them. Each person has... I
think it might be worth showing them at least one of the cards.
Yes, I'm going to, yes.
Because they are quite weird and abstract.
So there isn't a board, there's just, this is the scoring thing, and you play a little rabbit that just goes around the scores. So that's kind of cute. This is quite a cute, the original version is quite a cute version. There are a lot of expansions, which I'm told generally get kind of like grimmer and sadder and stuff. But yeah, basically... Well, this is a bit sad. There's a small child and a crying giant teddy bear. What's random stuff? Here's a person made of leaves, I think. Basically, they're quite slightly surreal, kind of abstract images. A rabbit knight presented with 3 doors. And what you do is each person has a turn of being kind of the storyteller. So each turn, so that person has 6 images in their hand. So I have to remember how this works exactly. And so for one of those, he makes up a sentence. It says they make up a sentence without showing the card, and you say the sentence out loud. So it could be a sentence, it could be a phrase, you could use a song lyric, you could use a quote, something like that. And then the other players will also have 6 images in their hand, and they'll sort of use the thing that the storyteller has said, and they'll pick whatever one is in their hand that they think kind of matches or could relate to that, and everyone puts their cards, gives the card to the storyteller who puts them kind of puts them down, and then people have to guess which one is the card or the image that inspired the original sentence or phrase or word or quote. So yeah, so it's not strategy based. It's just like here are pictures and words and associating things, and maybe an element of sort of storytellingness to it, which is kind of why I like it. And also the first time I played, I won quite a lot, which was nice. I know some people had great difficulty with it, particularly some of our friends who when we first played it, who are more into the strategy side of things. I know you weren't quite so keen on it either. I think it also helped that when we first played, I knew everyone who was there, but like there's one person there who was from like my work rather than like our sort of usual group of friends. So actually, I suppose that's when 2 of those guys met after, and then they still know each other and stuff. So it kind of helps if you kind of have either, I guess, if most people don't know each other that well, or if people know each other. Yeah, I think there's an element of that. So I think that helped. But I found it quite nice because quite often when things are very numbery or very like, you have to come up with a strategy, and then you have to follow that strategy through and be prepared for obstacles. And I'm like, what is happening now? And what's with all these cards? Whereas these ones, like, here are some pretty pictures. Come up with a word. It's like, oh, words. I'm more the words person. You're more the numbers person.
I think
in our relationship, fair enough. I do. That said, I can see that he does feel a little bit directionless to some people we know. But I think it can be fun as like a kind of light-hearted game, and I think it might be good like with our little boy when he's a bit bigger, because I think it's like looking at the picture. I mean, the pictures in this almost have a childish element to some of them. And then I didn't say about the scoring. So what happens is everyone has to guess which picture is the one you kind of put down. Sort of, they get numbered and you put down a tile, so which one, and then people get points based on whether they did or didn't do it. So if the storyteller, no one guesses theirs, they get points. But if somebody guesses who the storyteller's was correctly, they get points. If somebody else's was guessed instead, like they had a picture that fit the phrase better than the one that originally inspired it, then and it does have an element to it, because sometimes when you'll say something, you'll look at it and be like, oh, this is a lot like that, that's fine. Sometimes you look at it like, which one of these could it be? So it's just kind of like a more kind of abstract-y thinking thing. But yeah, I think it's quite like it's a fun little game. It's only like half an hour, if that.
Well, you've just answered Shaz's question there. Well done.
Oh, was it how long it was?
Yeah.
Yes. Half an hour,
because it's
3 to 6 people, 8 plus. So
it's a fixed number of rounds, because you've got six cards.
Yeah,
so
each time,
you don't refill your hand once you've played one. So it goes round. It'll only go for 6 rounds, which does help with keeping it down, with keeping the length of time, game length down. And in a lot of respects, it's playing a card, and then. I mean, obviously, if you've got someone who is really putting a real lot of thought into what they're picking, then yes, it might take a while. But
yeah, I think also I find it quite fun to look at the pictures and be like, oh, this is really weird. What's happening here? And sometimes people will like look at the hand and be like, what is this? Because they are quite weird. Now I know people who've had expansions who say some of those get a bit like gothic and grim, but it's generally got a sort of surrealist thing. But these are usually, I think, at worst melancholy, but some of them are just like fun or weird, which I quite liked. And I know I've heard some like authors playing it at conventions, which sounds like it'd be quite fun. But yeah, although saying that, a friend of ours who didn't get on with this so much does have a game which I think is similar but has more of a direction to it. And I can't remember what it's called, and we must play that with him at some point when we can see him again.
Okay.
But it's like one where I think there's like a haunted house, and the ghost uses pictures to tell you things, which sounds really fun. And I think he said he liked that more, because though it was similar to an extent, like using pictures as messages, it had a bit more directions to it, whereas this is just like, pick a picture, say some words, guess some stuff. So, but, it's a nice little game, I think. And, also, I think when one person who watched it, played it, he looked at one card and said, well, I want a tattoo of this now, which wasn't actually the phrase he used. But we had to wait till the end when he showed us which card it was he wanted the tattoo of. But yeah. So.
Yeah, I'd say it's just a nice game of... But I think it does...
I think it's more kind of in the vein of stuff like Pictionary, but but obviously you've got the cards, it's still like a preset game. But it's sort of like, it's not like we're going to spend ages playing this game and
definitely
doing this whole
something
thing.
You could play with your family in a Christmas setting.
And no one's going to get too fussed about the rules, because the main rule is just the scoring system. And yeah, most of the rest of it's can be fairly freeform. I think there are alternate versions you can do as well a bit, so...
I think frame of reference is definitely important.
That probably would be useful, yeah.
Yeah, if you get, because I think I was able to play a couple of things by being able to say something that the other certain people at the table would know, and other people wouldn't, which it's, or literally just for Cathy,
I was going to say, I think if you and I are playing, it's alright.
Yeah,
I kind of know. But,
so. I think that's worth keeping in mind before you break it out at a gaming session. Who's at the table and whether you are going to be able to, as I say, not...
Yeah, because I think you can need to strike the balance of making it fit the thing. So it's kind of like not in the rules if you say something that completely isn't relevant to what you've put down as a storyteller, but also because the other people want to kind of get it to fit. So you want it to be like... something that people could guess, but not something really, really obvious. So it's just a bit of a balance thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it just uses slightly different skills to other games. And I always feel a little bit self-conscious about the skills other games require, so I felt better about this one.
I mean, yeah, it's not a bad game at all. It's
I think it just, I guess certain kinds of player might like it more than others, and it's just kind of going, I guess, with your expectations. But yeah. Should I do Mal next and then you close out? Or?
I don't mind, yeah, you can do it.
Okay. So, I'll do this one. So this is Castle Panic, which is quite fun. Oh god, I have to read the front now. So it's 1 to 6 players, ages 10 and up. It is by Fireside Games.
I don't believe there's a designers mentioned on there, don't worry.
Okay. It's not like it has a spine like the book does. Anyway, so this is quite a fun game. This is the co-op game. Now, I quite like co-op games, because as I've mentioned, I sometimes feel a little bit uncertain about my ability to strategise and do things, which is, it's not to say I like always lose badly. You know, I'm usually fine with stuff, but there's usually an element of me like having to get into a game and figure it out, and sometimes when I win it feels a little bit like, oh, okay, I won, that's nice. I don't always feel like I'm very like, you know, this is my strategy, I'll do, and then when people chat afterwards about their strategies, I kind of like understand what they're saying, but it's like, oh, I didn't think of that. So, you know. So I like co-ops, because then, also, I'm not very adversarial or competitive a lot of the time, so it's a bit like, shall we all just work together to get this done? Yay! Then I can have a few good ideas, and other people can tell me what to do on my turn. So, this is like a proper board game. So this is your map, and it's very round. So in the centre is your castle, and then you've got so you built a castle in the middle of these really, really creepy woods, which was bad planning.
Yeah, I was going to say, I do wonder what the person designing it, you know, what it's like. Did
somebody just give them the land so they can sort it out, or to get rid of them?
This wood is full of ogres and trolls and goblins. So
monsters, basically.
Yeah, you can go build over there. So
you have your castle, which you build in the middle, and then and then you have the creepy wood around the edge, and then you have there's sort of several layers. So you've got swords, knights, and archer, which is kind of like how, so you know, like if you just got swords, and knights have horses, they go a bit further, and obviously archers can shoot things, and then you've got the forest. And what happens is that, and then you've got obviously various the 3 colours. What happens is, so what you do is you build your castle, so you've got like castle walls you can stick on it. And then you've got goblins, trolls, and various other creepy things. So what happens is, in each game, the monsters come out of the forest, and then they kind of advance, and then you roll dice to sort of say where the monsters are coming from, so you see it's like 1 to 6. And then you have to work together to use your archers, knights, and swordsmen to beat back the monsters. And yeah, basically the game kind of progressed like that, so I'm just going to read it again. We played this quite a bit for one, and we haven't played it for a while, obviously we haven't played a lot of things for a while. But yeah, so you have castle cards, which will give you kind of like help. There's monster tokens, you've got support.
So basically, you
remember this better than me. He's better at explaining rules than I am.
You're pulling monsters out of this bag to find out what they're going. So you've got random. So you've got general mooks. So you've got general goblins and ogres. And you've got a few special characters that are a bit tougher. And then you draw cards to represent your fighting force, and they've all got colours and ranges based on what they are. So they can only attack certain layers of the map. And some of the things, so in your turn when you play one of the defence cards, you'll do 1 damage to whatever's in that zone or what you're targeting in that zone.
So this is your wall, and this is your tower, which would be on the map.
And then you
and then you can also sometimes add a fortification, which is like a little palisade, I think, supposed to be, which hooks quite nicely.
And then you so when you play your card, you get to shoot or attack or take out 1 life of one of the things in the zone you can attack. some of them have more life, so they're going to be tougher. And the aim is, once they get to your castle, they knock down a wall. And then once you start losing walls, if you lose the game if you lose your castle, basically.
Yeah, so there's also boulders. Sometimes a boulder will just come and and it might be good because it might crush a load of trolls and things, but then it will also go through your walls. So you kind of have to be fighting them back and also trying to rebuild your walls. And sometimes you end up with a castle that just has a big corridor through the middle of it, and you're like, oh no.
Yeah.
So it's just, but so because it's co-op, so everyone has a turn, and you have certain things you do on your turn, but then obviously other people can help you and stuff. So we usually play it as just full co-op, as in we're all trying to keep our castle nice and not knocked down and invaded. So we're going to help. I think there's also a slightly more points-based system you can use within the co-op.
There's a couple of levels of co-op. So we usually play full visibility, so everyone's hand is visible to everyone else's, so we can suggest. And if you're not careful, that's the way. That's the way. Basically, everyone's doing it together.
Which is what I like.
But you've just got to be careful that you don't have someone that basically bosses everyone around. Your next level up is co-op, but you keep your hand secret, so you have to talk to. You still have to communicate with what you've got, but it isn't as straightforward as just looking at saying, "Oh, well, play that one." You've got to be a bit more less freedom of information, but it's still working together.
So I quite like just making a plan together. So we go, we can use this one and we can use that one. And
that's quite a good thing. And then there is that version of co-op, but you then score points based on the
monster hunter points,
monsters you. So at the end, you can declare a winner being the person who's killed the most monsters.
I don't think we've not done that.
We've never done that because that seems.
Just want to keep our castle standing. Well, I mean, I guess it's points, so it's not pointless.
We just only worked. If we're pulling out Castle Panic, it's because we want to do something. Because it's straightforward. It's quite you can get.
It's quite fun.
It's fun. You can get
and sometimes
younger children. I don't what does it say? 10 up.
10.
If you given the way you play it co-op, you can have younger children involved. Because they, it's fun getting the monsters out of the bag and
because you choose a monster, and sometimes depending which dice roll you use, depends where the monsters are, and there's also colours for them and stuff. You might have a blue knight, so the knight can only operate in the knight circle of the blue bit. So it's stuff like limiting it and stuff. But then you occasionally have somebody that can operate in all colours, and they're quite rare. Yeah. But then, so it's deciding where's best to use that. But then also sometimes the monsters just cut, if loads come from one direction, you don't have a lot of that colour. It's all a bit, so it can overwhelm you. And there have sometimes. Was there once when you had one wall and one tower left?
It's something we have it has been close.
You have to fight off all the monsters, and if the monsters destroy your tower, then
so the way to win is having something standing at the end when there are no more monsters in the back.
It could just be a single wall.
It's a straightforward win condition. There's no other. Certainly in the base game, again, there are expansions to it that introduce other things.
Yeah, I think the first thing I looked at had a load of expansion lists because it kept mentioning the Wizard's Tower, and I'm like, I don't know what this is.
We do not have the Wizard's Tower.
No. They did have at the Games Expo some years ago when we went a big size version, so the walls were this big and the towers like that high, and I think they actually had something you rolled across.
You rolled
as
the boulder across,
which is amazing. Although then it becomes a bit more about a physical skill. It's like bowling now. But it's we played it quite a bit for a while, didn't we? So
it's a good game. I'd say not massive in depth, but I'd say good. It's just a fun, easy,
solid sort of thing.
Yeah, nice and friendly. You're not having to, you win or lose together.
See, there are some games where you have to, you're not only playing against other people. Well, it's like that Battlestar game, which is kind of part co-op, but then it's a secret thing. And I always end up being the cylon, and I'm like, oh no, I have to betray everyone. And I'm not pleased about it, so I'm basically Boomer. But then also I'm like, everyone will know if I'm doing the thing, so I'm just a really timid cylon. I'm just going to very subtly sabotage things in a really rubbish way.
There is a couple of games where it's a co-op game with a traitor element. So Dead of Winter is one.
Oh, okay. Is that what that is?
That's a zombie apocalypse one, and it's quite from all people have said it's quite a rough game.
I've heard people mention that. Yeah.
It's zombie survival, But
sounds exhausting.
so it's a co-op game, but you also have a personal win condition, and a lot of them screw over the co-op part of things. So
the one I quite like that's a bit of that, where you've got like one person who's a thing and everyone else is cooperating, is that one where you travel around Europe on trains and somebody's Dracula.
Oh, yes. Oh, I can't remember what that was called now.
Escape from Dracula?
Something like
Dracula. That was great, because you reach like a fancy European person who's trying to like, capture Dracula or stop Dracula. And then, because you were Dracula, weren't you?
Yes.
Yes. And then Greg was like some sort of fancy person who had like travel. So he'd just turn up and go, I'm Lord so-and-so. And then people would just let him on trains. Yeah. So then you have to try, so like you don't know exactly what Dracula is, you have to kind of like follow him around. That was kind of fun, I thought. But yes, I suppose I don't know how it was being Dracula.
Yeah, I think that was possibly needed more.
But that has a
subterfuge.
But that one has a subterfuge.
Yes.
Like, you know, Dracula is the bad guy. He's Dracula.
Yes.
And then sometimes it's fun to be the bad guy, but like maybe in an obvious way, not in the like, well, now I've secretly screwed everyone over, and also feel very tense because somebody might just unveil me at some point, and then what do I do? Again, strategy is not.
Well, then you become a play on the Cylon board, and
Yes.
I like aspects. I like aspects of the Battlestar game.
Oh no, there were good things of it. I just always found it incredibly tense, and I don't know if that's how you always figured out I was a Cylon, but not from the actual gameplay. Because they always kind of knew, and he's like, "Well, I just know because I'm married to you." It's like, oh.
I can't just airlock her because I'm married to her. That sounds bad.
I wasn't even being very good Cylon. I wasn't sabotaging hardly anything because I was so nervous of people finding out I was the Cylon.
Right. I'm going to do the last game and then I'll come back to the comments in a moment. So keep making comments if you like, but I will come back to them. Don't worry. Final game. This is one most recent we have. It is Sagrada. It's more a case of it because the font's really awkward on this. This is
the last game we played before lockdown. Like literally, was it the weekend before lockdown was announced? And like a friend here who lives nearby and was a bit like, "Shall we play this game? Because we don't know when we're going to be able to see people again."
It's a game of dice drafting and window creating by Daryl Andrews and Adrian Adamescu. I don't know how
really should have pre-read these and figured out how to say them.
For 1 to 4 players. 30 minutes playtime. This is a quick one as well. So this.
Oh yeah, it was. We played it a few times.
This one's going to have a slightly strange concept, but it works really well and it's really pretty. So you are building stained glass windows
in like a fancy cathedral.
So everyone gets these wonderful little playboards, and what you also.
The dice
yeah,
are important.
I'm going to get to the dice. We'll get to the... And you have you end up with a kind of a pattern you have to work with, which has different complexities. So this one's quite a complex one. So you get to choose you get dealt a couple, and then you get dealt 2. And then they're double-sided, so you can pick. So you got one of 4 choices, and that's your window you're trying to create. And then you get dealt 1 secret objective, which is usually there's the secret ones. There's a secret one. There's a secret one. To do with colours of...
so secret you can't.
Yeah, I think it's these ones. Which is to do with colours of dice, which I'll show you in a second. And then you have 3 known objectives for points. So this one is colour variety, sets of any one of each colour anywhere. So for every set of one of each colour dice will get you 4 victory points. So there's 3 of those. And what you do is when it's your turn, you draw a certain number of dice out of the bag. Certain number based on the number of players you got. And then roll them. So you have a bag full of all the shiniest dice.
They're quite pretty.
They are very pretty. So you then...
So it's important for people who like dice.
So you then roll them, because the values matter. as well as the colour. So
it's about colours and numbers.
yes. So then you're looking at putting. So you can't have two colours of the same next to each other, or two numbers the same.
And people kept forgetting this. So
Yeah.
although I didn't win any of the rounds, I had the moral victory because I was the one who went by all the rules.
Yeah. And so in this case, there is limitations to what you can put on this one as well. So there's colour limitations and value limitations as well. So, which can be broken. There are a couple of cheat cards in there as well that you can use to break, but you only get a limited number. So completing a hard one will also get you more victory points. So, so basically it goes round each person. It goes round once, it goes up and then back again. Each person drafting a dice from the pool to put. Let's not lose one of the dice. I'll pick that up in a moment. To put onto your board, and at the end you end up with quite a nice little. It looks very appealing because you're putting together this. I'm just going to throwing dice.
I was going to put too many. You don't have to.
Yeah. So you're trying to put together this pattern on the board to try and match what you're aiming for. It looks, as I say, it looks very attractive.
It's kind of like a logic problem, isn't it? Because you're looking at it and you're like, well, what can I put here based on the colour?
If you like Sudokus, I mean, this is kind of this is quite similar as well.
I suppose, yeah.
Got a very Sudoku element to it, yeah.
Maybe those are pretty. I'm not sure. I've only seen basic ones.
If you like numbers, they're pretty. So each, and then you're working with the public objectives and your secret objective, drafting dice so that there's draft elements. So you can be drafting things to help you, but also hinder your opponents if you're that way inclined. And it plays quite quickly. It's got a nice. And there's little gemmy things as well, because why not have little... I'm throwing them all on the floor now. There we go, little shiny gemmy things. So yeah, it's very visually appealing, and it plays really nicely for a theme that you might think that seems a bit strange, but as I say, works really nicely.
I mean, a lot of board games have slightly random themes.
That's a fair point.
The odd theme is here, and then we've
the wine making ones. I'm not entirely sure about, but there's quite a genre of wine making.
Oh, okay,
board
that's
games.
Obviously gone past.
Yeah, that's not exactly what we've.
It's like Ginkgopolis is another one we've played a few times. We've quite enjoyed, and that's sort of city planning, but with a kind of vaguely ecological bent. But it's mostly actually the gameplay, and I think the other parts are more to do with like the card design and kind of like the concept art and stuff. We sort of build the city, build up towers.
Yeah, so this one. So another fixed turn length. So I think it's only 6 turns again. So you're not.
How long it's going to be.
It's not going to be very long.
It's not like when you play Call of Cthulhu. It's like, how long are we here for?
Yeah, that's a different one. It's a different problem altogether. It's got a solo mode as well, where you're trying to just get as high a score as possible, making your own little window. Mm-hmm. Definitely want to have a look at if you like pretty games.
Did we have comments?
Yes, I was going to go back to that.
Oh, sure.
Scroll back up.
The comments are on his phone, not on the screen.
That's fine. So, Shaz is talking about it. Said he often lose badly because I usually end up playing a new board game for the first time with experienced players of that game.
That happens a lot.
Yeah, that's a problem.
We have a lot of very experienced game people that we know, including obviously Greg, who designs games for his job, or one of his jobs. So this is the thing I quite often feel, because like I said, I can do strategizing stuff, but I don't feel like it's massively my strong point. So sometimes it's like, oh, well, if you do these 3 things, it makes this happen. I'm like, oh, okay, that's good to know, but will I remember next time? But yeah, and I like you to explain rules to me, because quite often the first part of the game, you're like, now what does this guy do? I can't tell anyone I've got the guy. And then you're like, I'm just going to look at the instructions.
I think it's definitely true for rule heavy games. So like Terraforming Mars would be one. I mean, to be honest, with the depth in Terraforming Mars, I wouldn't say I'm an expert by any means, but once you start playing it a lot, you get to recognise some things which are going to be better strategies than others. Whereas I think Sagrada and obviously Dixit.
Dixit's just,
And Castle Panic certainly because of co-op.
I think that's also why I kind of like Fluxx as well. I know some people, because you can't strategize with Fluxx because the rules change like every other turn. So it's like, I'll just see what happens. So I don't mind that too much, as long as it isn't like a mechanic that's stressful. There
is a strategy to Sagrada, but in some ways you can have a, what I'm looking for, handicap.
Okay.
Or not so much, but the reverse for handicap, insofar as the person who knows it better can pick a harder window to create.
Yeah.
You as a learner can pick a nice, easy window and limit not limit yourself, but you're keeping it so you can get a handle on the and not quite level the playing field, but certainly feel like you've got a chance of coming closer rather than being stomped because they know all the key ones. But it's a problem, and you've really got to hope that the people you're playing with, pick a game that
I think
supports that, or
Yeah, I think Dominion was one, because I remember Greg played with me like a while ago, but then a lot of people played it really regularly, and some people played it online, and then they're like, well, you do these, and all this happens.
Last time we played Dominion, we played it with our friend Tim, who was playing Sagrada with, but he'd been playing a lot online, and he wiped the floor with us. We didn't have a chance because he had all the strategies.
Because with dice, I suppose you've got a bit more. Like, card games can be quite fun, but also, if somebody else is really familiar with the deck and how it all works, you're a bit like, oh no, I'm at quite a big disadvantage. Whereas at least with the dice, it's a bit like sometimes the dice rolls are bad, and that can be irritating. But also, it's a bit like, well, you just work what you like. There's a bit more of an element of chance in there, I guess.
Yeah, I think there are some. Yes, some games are better easier to introduce to people, but so you just got to hope that the people you're playing with remember that not to stomp you too badly.
I guess it depends.
Yeah, I was going to say depends.
We're not very stompy people.
No, I would much rather people have fun and enjoy playing a game, because then they're more likely to come back and play it again. If you don't have a good experience playing a game, you're not going to want to keep playing it. That's my general view.
Okay, sure.
That's Terraforming Mars is quite good. Well, all of these games are quite good.
That's why we chose this.
Yeah, we always have other games that are quite good as well.
Yeah, we've got like Catan, Settlers of Catan, a few different versions of Fluxx.
Yeah.
All sorts of stuff, really.
We've got Munchkins of various orders. Got some games I've never got around to playing yet. I've got the This War is Mine. This War of Mine? This War of Mine board game. Got to work myself up to that one.
Okay, yeah, I saw that earlier. I wasn't quite sure what it was because we've not played it.
So, do you know the game? Have you ever heard of This War of Mine? The computer
I feel like
game?
I've heard of it, but I don't know what it's about.
For those that don't know, This War of Mine is a computer game where you are playing survivors during a conflict.
Oh, is this the one where you have a starvation thing that's really realistic?
You are.
I might have heard of this.
Yeah, you're basically.
A lot of games have the word war in.
You're three people in. We start off as three people in this shelter, and there is a conflict going on in the city that you live in, and you have to survive. And winter is coming, and you have to go out. You have to go out and scavenge, and you run into
combatants.
You run into other people just trying to survive. There are some rough moral choices to be made.
Is this one of these games that could make you a better person, but it's also really difficult to play?
Yes, it's
right. One of those ones.
It's not. It's a very good game. Certainly, the computer game is. I think the board game I haven't played yet. But if it's anything like the board game is very story generated. So there's scripts in there. There's a book of scripts.
Oh, okay.
So you're telling a story about your group of survivors.
Oh, that sounds interesting but heavy.
Yeah, it's not a light game by any means. So yes, I want to play it, but we've got to find it, and I think it's going to be a long one.
Okay.
So yeah. What else we got upstairs? We have the Legend of Korra.
Oh, we do have the Fighty sport game.
Yeah, fighting sport game from Avatar.
Martial art, for a start, is the word I meant there.
Yeah.
Fighty sport. I mean, that is sort of a...
Yeah, so that's a good... That's, you know, it's hard. So we've got some odds and ends games. We need to play more games.
Sure. Pro bending.
Pro bending, yeah. And there is some more games out there I want to buy, but I haven't got around to it.
Well, let's play the ones we have
yes,
first.
like Betrayal of Haunted House. Kate mentions. Another one I haven't...
Is that the one that I was talking about that Ian had?
No.
Okay, never mind.
That one we haven't played anyway, but it's...
No, I think we were going to, and then sort of didn't.
Yeah. Cthulhu-based versions as well, I think.
Yeah, sure.
What else is there?
Were there any other comments? Or?
I was told not to mention ogres, but
okay, they're in the game.
Yeah, we're giving Mana flashbacks.
Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, was this about your role-playing game the other day? Okay. Shall I find one?
Well, no, don't do that. Yeah, dice happen, I think, is what we say there. A Baldur's Gate version of Betrayal, possibly. People are getting upset because I'm mentioning ogres again.
Okay, that's only people that are in your gaming group.
Yeah, well, it's...
Right.
Yeah.
Ogres are like onions. There we go.
Ogres are like onions. Okay, we'll stop mentioning ogres, okay? Okay, we've run to the end of the
okay, that's
comments.
I just thought I'd double check, because I can't see.
So yes, there's some other... What are the ones we have that might be worth just a quick mention?
I don't know, I think a lot of the ones we have are ones that a lot of people know, like Ticket to Rise, like say Carcassonne Settlers of Catan, which has been about a while. Ginkgopolis is quite fun. Again, it's fairly rules based, has some layers to it, but you kind of like building cities, so you can build up, or you can build out, or you can do both, and that's interesting. Yeah, so you're the one's better remembering this sort of thing than me.
Okay.
I mean, we've got quite a few, but it's one of those things where sort of like, you don't always... We went through a phase, actually, quite a few years back where we had regular game nights, like fortnightly or monthly, and sort of like died down a bit, and then we had a kid.
Yeah, I was going to say that then the little person came along, and that kind of... then
there was a pandemic, so, you know...
There was a few years between those.
We have pandemic.
We have pandemic, yes. That's another interesting co-op game that can end up... I don't
want to play it right now, though. For God's sake.
That can end up... it's a bit brutal.
Because that's a co-op game, but it's kind of a bit... It's got more layers to it. It's kind of like Crunchy, like Terraforming Mars, but co-op like Castle Panic. And then basically there's all these diseases happening, so you have to like be scientists or public health officials or... I don't know, transport people, just getting people around, like curing, like coming up with cures and like curing diseases all over the place. But sometimes the diseases just overwhelm the world. And you're like, oh no.
Yeah. Ticket to Ride is great. That's a very fun
That's
one.
quite fun. Yeah, I like that one. You put trains down on the map of the US, and then I know where things are in the US because I didn't know where a lot of them were.
Yes. Oh, just sorry, got comments coming in, so I'll just read it. I'm not sure when it comes to Catan how much playing it being really experienced is that much.
Oh, was that was Catan?
Yeah, so Shaz was saying he's played it a lot against really experienced players. Because there's the dice element to it, I think that helps to balance it. I appreciate that there's going to be some of positioning of knowing where to build and what to aim for. And
also if you don't just do the standard board, because I've played the standard board most. I think we've only played other versions a little bit. But yeah, we had times where... Oh, there was the one game where the dice rolls just weren't for me and I couldn't do anything for turn after turn. And I think it's because what happened was I started favouring 8s instead of 6s, and 6 is my lucky number, and obviously the 6s were angry at me, so...
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, the dice...
But yeah, if your dice don't go well, it can sometimes be not such a fun experience. But...
Which is true for a lot. Yeah, I think that's very true.
Yeah, which is the dangerous stuff like that.
And when you get into when you add in the expansions.
Oh yeah, we've played this bit.
Yeah, because they add extra levels onto it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Catan's quite interesting because it's, for a lot of it, isn't so adversarial.
No, it's mostly kind of working around people to an extent until the robber comes. I don't like the robber. I mean, I know you're supposed to like the robber.
The robber is the most adversarial you get, really.
Don't some of the expansions have more of that sort of thing, like there's raiding or something?
Not ones we've only got cities and knights.
Okay, sure.
Which adds in
walls and knights.
Yeah.
What was that Carcassonne?
No, that's Carcassonne.
Yeah. There are little wooden people in the games. Yeah.
Yes.
Carcassonne's alright, but again, it's one of those ones where it's sort of like, you sort of see how you go as you go, which I think Settlers is like. Like, you can have a bit of a strategy, but then you also have a certain amount of seeing how you go. Yeah, I mean,
Kate was saying that Dak and Les are insanely good. Dak has been playing for a long time. Dak and I first played Settlers of Catan when it was still in its pure German form. We had to have
So how did you figure out what the rules?
We had to have translation sheets. So we had the rules and we had the translation sheets.
Yeah, we have to get that for when we got Ginkgopolis because we got like a French version because the English version was like very expensive. It's like, we'll just download these from the internet. But yeah, see, when I was a kid, I remember we tried to play a board game that was in either German or Dutch. We were in the Netherlands in a tent and it was raining, so we got like a board game from the sort of place in the campsite that had entertainment stuff in. And it was in either German or Dutch, and my dad had some basic knowledge of German, so we tried to play this game while having my father's poorly translated version of it. But it was one of those quite social, sort of talky family ones, so at least I think it was, I don't know, it was just my dad's interpretation of it. But it was kind of fun.
Yeah. So no wonder Dak's good at it, because he's been playing it a while.
I think there's an element with games like that where there can be some strategy and some seeing how you go, and there's like the dice randomisation in, that people who played it a lot will have a sort of shorthand. They know that if they do this, it means that. So there's a little bit less of what the less experienced player might do of kind of like trying to think things through, because they'll be a bit more like, well, they kind of know it. So I think that's what comes in. It's more kind of like muscle memory and less kind of like practicing it, almost.
But yeah, Shaz, you've been playing Pandemic Legacy. I haven't played any of the Legacy games. That is an interesting one. If you can keep doing it with a group. So the legacy elements change the board.
Okay.
So after one game, it changes to a different way. And they've done 2 seasons of it, and they've been really quite good from what I've heard. But if you can play with a group and do all, so the first one is 12 months. So there's 12 version games you play, and each one changes the board.
Okay.
So yeah, the first one they did was Risk, Legacy Risk.
Oh, okay, right. Oh, yes, of course, Risk.
Yeah.
That's a classic one we have, because you have Transformers.
I have Transformers Risk,
and I had Risk when I was younger, so I did play that with my siblings a bit as well.
Yeah.
So
Manon has been able to build 3 hybrids. Well done. I have managed to build most of a leg, so I don't know who wins in that one.
I've got like the sky done now, and I just need to decide what I'm doing. This green blob that's going to be some sort of leaves or vegetation, and I sort of had in my head how I could do it, but it doesn't quite work because I'm new to this. So I'll have to figure out how to do my leaf shapes. So I've left myself a little bit of space, but like the sky is done now, so that's quite good progress. I think I should be well on track to send this back to them. I just need to, because it's for a local history project, so as well as sending this back to go in kind of like a arch made out of all these bricks that people in the local area have done, I also need to write some sort of message to people who live in this area in 100 years, and it's like, okay, let's hope humanity's still there. I don't know if I'll open with that. I'll see how I go.
You might want to start on something a little bit more less dark.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, the small P pandemic has not helped playing board games.
No. Well, I guess maybe online type ones.
Online ones, yeah.
We don't tend tend to do online ones, really.
I don't know. I miss the, you know, obviously I've been doing a
putting things down.
role-playing game
Rules and
online
stuff.
is easier, but yeah, when you've got there is tabletop versions of you can do set lists. There is a one online version. Some of them are better than others. As I understand it, the Terraforming Mars one isn't very good. Well, it's okay. But,
everything's had to rush online. But yeah, I feel like people are quite often doing a lot of online things. A colleague was talking about going to an online hen do, and they were all worried it wouldn't be that good, so they put out loads of effort to do lots of like quite planned stuff and sounded really nice. I feel like I'm not obviously taking enough advantage of this really, but also I work full time and our kid has been here most of the time, so I've been quite tired. But yes, probably should do more online socialising in general and maybe some sort of activity based.
This is what we're doing this for.
This is true. Yes.
We have wonderful people in the comments. They can see us.
That's true. Having a nice chat about things.
About things. I've built most of a leg. You've done, yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, I'm going to put stars in the sky at some point and figure that out, but I want to get the leaves sorted first.
Yeah. I think we might want to wrap this up now.
That's reasonable.
Because otherwise we could keep going for a while. And
Well, we've done all the things we covered. This is actually slightly more structured and polished than some of our previous ones. It just depends on how tired we've been. And August is a very busy month for my job.
And yeah, we'll get better at this.
Yeah.
You know. Anyway.
Yes. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Yes. It's been lovely to interact with you in the comments. We will hopefully speak to you soon.
And we'll also be putting this on YouTube at some point. I think we're a bit behind on putting things on YouTube.
We are, mainly because I'm editing.
Dave's doing a lot of video stuff for his work, so you know.
So I need to. This will come, but you know. Yes, it's been good. We will catch you all soon for another. I'm not entirely sure what. We need to work on a better plan.
Well, we just haven't got a schedule, but we'll do something probably next week. Yeah. Okay.
And we'll work on the endings as well. Right. See you guys later.
Stay safe. Bye bye.